What if the story we've been watching all these years wasn't the full truth? Christine Brown is finally stepping out of the shadows to share what really happened behind closed doors. And it's raw, personal, and long overdue. If you've ever wondered what the cameras didn't catch, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Grab a cup of coffee and dive in. This one hits deep. There are times in life when one voice at last says what everyone else has been too cowed to say. And if that voice is Christine Brown's, the silence bursts wide open. For years we watched her on our television sets, smiling in frustration, keeping her family intact with determination and dignity, doing all she could to make an uncertain life seem ordinary. But something in her eyes, something always made us suspect there was more to the story, and now she's prepared to tell us all. The tale you've assumed about sister wives, Christine is poised to flip it on its head. What happens when the quiet one finally speaks? What does it look like for a woman who gave everything to her family to take something back? Her truth. Christine's new book is arriving. And it is not another celebrity memoir. It's a reckoning. A highly personal telling of what actually went down behind closed doors, beyond the cameras, the couch interviews, and the carefully constructed scenes. Because sometimes the real story isn't what we're shown. It's what's carefully kept off screen. And for many longtime fans, it's what they've suspected all along. We recall the early days of Sister Wives, when everything seemed hopeful, perhaps even sweet. A large family unit, working and building together, based on faith and values. It was strange certainly, but there was something nearly reassuring about it. For a time we thought that maybe it might just work. Then the cracks appeared. The silence of the cold. The push to the side worries. The wives gradually fading into the background, while one relationship held center stage. Christine attempted to cling to her marriage, her religion, her children, her pride. But bit by bit she was vanishing, until she wasn't anymore. Now she's walking into the light on her own terms. And she's doing so with clarity, courage, and a whole lot of heart. She's not out for revenge. This is not a story of revenge. This is the tale of a woman who learned the hard way that love should not hurt, and loyalty should not make you lonely. And the most shocking part, Christine says we haven't even seen the half of it. The emotional weight of this book. The parts she says she had to rewrite because the memories were too raw the first time, is unlike anything we've seen in the Sister Wives universe. And that says a lot, considering all the tears and tension we've witnessed over the years. Christine's tone in this moment, it counts. Because she isn't writing for herself alone. She's talking to every woman who has ever lingered too long in a place that didn't serve her. Every human who has talked themselves into believing they just need to try a little harder, and all will be well. Ring a bell? It is that feeling to which most of us can attest, giving and giving until there is nothing much left. Keeping quiet to maintain the peace. Smiling through tears, something women of a certain generation understand all too well. That's you, why this narrative resonates far, far more than polygamy or reality television. It's about self-selecting after decades of being told you're last. And it's about what occurs when the world at long last hears you utter, no more. If you've ever rooted for Christine, if you've ever seen yourself in her story, you'll wait no longer for this moment. And it's not only Christine who's impacted. Her words could create a ripple effect throughout the entire Brown family, and the Sister Wives franchise as a whole. Kody's reputation, TLC's history, the very platform this show was created on, it all could change. What happens when the truth is too loud to be silenced? What happens when the woman that everyone doubted is the one who alters everything? This is more than drama. It's about dignity. It's about survival. And it's about finally being heard. So, if you're ready for the unfiltered truth, the moments the cameras missed, and the voice that's been waiting over a decade to speak, be sure to hit that subscribe button to join us here at Sister Wives Daily Scoop. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Because this time, it's Christine's turn to speak. Some truths just refuse to stay buried. No matter how hard you try to keep them locked away, they tend to resurface, louder, sharper, and more difficult to ignore. And at the moment, it seems like the entire Sister Wives universe is holding its breath, waiting for the next emotional earthquake. Christine Brown, the formerly demure, smiling wife in the background, is coming forward with a voice that could rattle the very foundation of the Brown family, and perhaps the entire Sister Wives dynasty. She's publishing a book, but not only any book. A memoir full of the sort of behind-the-scenes reality we never witnessed on TLC, the sort that might pull back the curtain on a decade of heartache, imbalance, and truth strategically edited out of sight. What if the actual story was never on camera, but right in front of our faces all along? If you've been tuning in since the beginning, you recall how Christine was brought in, number 3 wife in what appeared to be a harmonious, loving family. She seemed warm, she seemed gentle, the peacemaker, always attempting to do the right thing for the children, for the family, for Kody, and maybe for herself. But off camera, something different was transpiring. Season upon season, we glimpsed. Her smiles thinned, her patience thinned even farther. She struggled with being continually tried to keep her belief in plural marriage afloat against the harsh reality of being ignored, dismissed, and drained emotionally. She continued to give her everything, but what was there left for her in return? Christine's life in the Brown family wasn't merely hectic, it was acutely imbalanced. Attention and affection were doled out in ways that never felt balanced. The shouters, the strongest personalities, they always ended up in charge. And Christine, she continued to strive to make it work, quite often at the expense of her happiness. There were moments when you could catch it in her eyes, moments when she seemed completely alone, even when she was standing in the middle of a crowded house, when Kody dismissed her worries, when love seemed more like duty, when the flame in her just seemed extinguished. Eventually, pretending everything's fine becomes the most tiring performance of all. Though she lingered. For years, she had faith in the promise of oneness, of collective responsibility. She had faith in Kody. But with time, that wasn't enough. And then it shifted. Christine finally spoke the quiet part out loud, first to herself, and then to millions of people. She deserved better. She wanted more than being someone's last consideration. She wanted love without strings, support that didn't require payment. That moment, when she decided on herself, wasn't TV drama. It was a turning point in real life, and people sensed it. Women wrote letters, supporters cheered her on, viewers who had quietly suffered their own sorts of heartache saw something of themselves in her resilience. Departing Kody wasn't an exit so much as a reclamation. And now Christine is ready to go even further. Her new book has more than a mere retelling of what we already understand. This is her opportunity to say all that was left unspoken. The pain, the hope, the hard-won insight, it's all there. This isn't just a memoir. It's a message. A note to every woman who's been nudged aside, to every spouse who's felt ignored, to every spectator who witnessed Christine suffer, and asked themselves, would I have the strength to leave too? Now she's not just sharing her story. She's reclaiming the pen. Sister Wives was always sold as an unusual glimpse into an extraordinary family, and for a time, it did actually feel revolutionary. But perhaps the largest truth was never on tape at all. Perhaps it was always Christine, waiting, enduring, and ultimately speaking. When the Browns initially opened their homes to cameras, we felt as though we were being entrusted with something private, a raw glimpse at their religion, their family, and the intricacies of plural marriage. On the surface, it was about working together and a shared sense of purpose. Kody was at the center of it all, navigating the demands of 4 wives and a large, expanding brood of children. But as the years went by, that veneer of perfection began to crack. Month after month, year after year, the psychological burden of polygamy became impossible to ignore. You could glimpse it in their faces, what the show often couldn't say aloud. One moment still haunts fans. Christine crying, confessing that she had always felt like she was always last. Not only last in the itinerary or the chatter, but last in Kody's affections. Her candor was searing. It exposed what most had long wondered, that beneath the smiles and public outings, there existed a lingering solitude that never really departed from her. And Christine wasn't the only one who felt that way. Mary, the original wife, was left alone by her catfishing affair, so hungry for human connection that she did the unthinkable to a stranger on the internet. Janelle, with her stoic determination and down-to-earth practicality, still had the unspoken burden of being invisible. And Robyn, the youngest wife, rocked the boat in ways that appeared to widen every crack that currently existed. It wasn't all about the wives. It was about the children. As well, the older kids were not afraid to express their confusion. They changed homes, states, even faiths, pursuing an ideal of family that never seemed more complicated than comforting. Some critiqued the decisions their parents made. Others simply attempted to deal. There were raw, unscripted scenes where you saw the emotional tug-of-war in their eyes. Between loyalty and yearning. Between attempting to be a part of something, and simply wishing for peace. They weren't scripted plot devices. They were the actual realities of a family attempting to keep itself intact, even as the ground beneath them gradually eroded. And yet, amidst all the suffering, the show maintained things oddly polished. By emphasizing routines, family dinner, and small moments of humor, Sister Wives tended to make polygamy seem offbeat and workable, in a way that it was simply another brand of family life. But for many viewers, particularly the observant ones, something more was always lurking beneath the surface. The inequality, the emotional abandonment, the perpetual self-denial the women were forced to practice, just in order to keep their heads above water. Although the show did serve to temper the public perception of plural marriage, it tended to gloss over the after effects, how it isolates women, depletes them, and too frequently erases them silently. Polygamy might be prohibited everywhere, but Sister Wives made it seem almost desirable. And now Christine is poised to flip that narrative on its side. There is a buzz about her new book. Her fans can feel it, such as a gathering storm in the distance, picking up speed and power. Christine's life has been cut down to sound bites and confessionals for years. But now she gets to tell the entire truth, on her own terms, without filters. Each time she speaks up on social media, even a teaser about the book, people lean in. She recently offered a sneak peek at recording her audiobook, giggling through the bloopers, then stopping to call the experience surreal and deeply personal. That wasn't a plug line. It was a woman taking back her story. Christine is taking center stage, not as a former wife, but as a mother, a survivor. And this time, nobody else gets to make the edit. There's an undercurrent in the air, that Christine's new book won't be just another memoir. It's going to be intimate, emotionally charged, and maybe perilous for those who've spent years working to maintain their version of the truth. Christine has already given us tiny, but revealing glimpses. Instagram captions such as, "Moving out of your house, feeling light," or "Love shouldn't be confusing or painful." They're not merely inspiring things to read. Their precision strikes at the emotional domination she once endured. She's not merely documenting her self-expansion. She's calling out the system that made her small for so long. This isn't merely a book. It's a reckoning. In interviews, Christine has given the faintest of hints that she'll keep the moments that absolutely broke her to herself. The day she realized Kody only loved her when it was convenient. The years she spent reshaping her own thinking, just to survive. She's promised transparency, and if her past on Sister Wives tells us anything, she won't shy away from the messy parts. Fans are abuzz, naturally, but so too are the Browns. This book could blow everything apart, particularly for Kody. He spent more than a dozen years mastering his on-camera image. Christine telling her story, uncut and unedited, has to be a worst-case scenario for him. And what about the other wives? For those who are holding on to whatever's left of the family unit, this is going to be a wake-up call. Christine's truth could yank them out of the pleasant denial they've existed in for so long. And for the TLC, the backlash could be huge. Will they stand behind Christine's truth? Or will they attempt to spin it again like they've done everything else? For viewers though, this book means something else. It's a chance to finally get the full story from someone who lived it. A story about control, resilience, and finding the courage to walk away from something that was never truly fair. The countdown has started, and once this book is out, there's no going back. Kody Brown was always the sun to which the Sister Wives universe revolved. His voice, his decisions, his schemes, they were the foundation of the show. He was the man with the big personality, the big hair, and even bigger claims. He said he could manage 4 marriages, keep a huge family in motion together, and still make every wife feel as loved as the next. But with years going by, that vow began to fray, and gradually the reality started to seep out through the cracks. On television, Kody frequently preached fairness. He wanted both wives to feel special. He spoke of creating a home based on love and respect. But what really transpired was a far cry from such ideals. Repeatedly, the audience saw him speak of inclusivity, then proceed to steamroll through choices. Recall the long, agonized discussions over relocating to Flagstaff. Kody pressed and pressured, dismissing anxieties, running roughshod over worries, and making everything about his own desires. And those assurances of oneness, those got more difficult to swallow. Each time the family became more divided. Christine, more than anyone, frequently felt like an afterthought in her own marriage. Her feelings and needs always came last, after whatever Kody felt like doing at the time. Kody spoke a great deal about values, about integrity, equity, openness. But in practice, his words didn't always ring true. He demanded loyalty and honesty from the women in his life, but himself kept secrets, or changed his story when it was convenient. And then, when the cracks began to appear, Kody accepted very little blame. When Mary was caught catfishing, he was the first to point fingers, claiming that she was shaking the family's foundation. But little was said about the loneliness or the emotional abandonment that could have driven her there. When Christine started standing up for herself, becoming vocal, asking the tough questions, Kody did not lean in. Instead, he pulled away. And in his pulling away, she couldn't help but question if the love that she thought existed was ever there at all. Outwardly, Kody maintained the appearance of being a strong, loyal husband and a devoted dad. But what the cameras ultimately revealed was a man hanging on to power, more interested in keeping up appearances than in truly relating to the people around him who were depending on him most. And that disconnect between the man Kody proclaimed he was and the man he ended up being, that's what audiences couldn't turn away from. As Christine gets ready to tell her entire truth in her own words, that picture Kody constructed is about to endure its greatest challenge. No more editing. No more easy angles. Nothing but the unvarnished truth, from one who experienced it. And behind it all, behind the drama, the heartache, the betrayal, is a system that made the Browns' lives a spectacle. TLC didn't merely present a narrative. They influenced how millions of individuals perceived polygamy. With rainbow-colored family meals, eccentric birthday celebrations, and poignant road trips, the show presented the lifestyle as unorthodox, but endearing. But that presentation wasn't the complete narrative. It muted the pain, the imbalance, and the emotional burden so many in that family were quietly bearing. The show at times glossed or bypassed the harsh realities about jealousy, loneliness, and the profound sacrifice asked of the women, particularly the children, who did not get to decide the life they were born into. The audience saw glimpses of the ache, but the entire burden of it, that wasn't always on display. While the cameras rolled, the tide of the law changed too. In Utah, where the Browns began, polygamy transitioned from a felony to a mere infraction, something akin to a parking ticket. Some hailed it as a step toward tolerance. Others viewed it as risky. It meant less protection for those mired in abusive or controlling marriages. And it implied that the system wasn't required to be accountable for the damage it could facilitate. Because behind all those headlines and changes in the law are flesh and blood people living the fallout day to day. Christine, Mary, Janelle, Robyn, and all their kids bore the expense of those decisions. Sure, the show provided a platform for them, but it also exposed their struggles to the world, for the world to see and opine about. For every sweet moment, every celebration, there were equal scenes of silence, hurt, and confusion. Sister Wives was not merely a reality television show. It became a mirror, a warning, and through Christine's voice, a lifeline for others looking to escape. Christine's path isn't merely about fleeing a shattered marriage, or indeed, exiting the show that chronicled so much of her existence. It's more than that. It's about finally deciding for herself. After years of being made to feel she didn't matter, she's no longer hiding in the shadows, holding out for things to shift. She's moving forward with a message of resilience and redemption, not only for women trapped in polygamous relationships, but for anyone who's ever felt ignored, silenced, or frozen in a life that's not their own. Because Christine's narrative isn't hers alone, it's a testament to what so many others have quietly suffered. She's not being coy. She's not acting like this journey was easy or effortless. She's laying it out for us, messy with heartbreak, with errors, with tiny triumphs, and with hard-won gains. And through it all, she's inviting other women to look at their own worth, to refuse the status quo, and to trust that change, even terrifying change, is worth the risk. But there's another side to this story of healing that can't be avoided: responsibility. That is not just seeing what was hurtful to her, but what was hurtful to others too. Only with that level of honesty can anyone really begin anew. As Christine gets set to impart her truth, unvarnished, unfiltered, she's giving us a very rare gift, a chance to take a closer look, to hear, and perhaps even to re-examine what we assumed we knew. Will this finally be the time when the truth will break through the cracks? Let's hear what you think in the comments. And if you're ready for more authentic drama and behind-the-scenes richness, hit subscribe and stay tuned with the Sister Wives Daily Scoop.